Welcome, dear students. Now I am going to discuss a new poem prescribed for your syllabus, Advanced Level English Literature. That is The Chimney Sweeper by William Blake. Chimney Sweeper by William Blake. Chimney Sweeper, right? The protagonist of this poem is the chimney sweeper. Of course, he is the narrator of the poem. Chimney sweeper means at that time in England, there was industrialization. William Blake's time could be identified as the worst time period that England ever experienced. William Blake's time period was the ever worst time period that England experienced under King George III. King George III, for all were corrupt. At that time, traditional agrarian revolution was abolished in England, and instead of that, industrial revolution was introduced. Right? Under that, there was factory system. London town became the hub of factories. Right? Peasants from rural areas gave up their traditional lifestyle and flocked into London town in order to find job opportunities in London town in factories. Industrial factories were mushrooming in London town. Right? London town was full of factories, factory sounds, and gasoline pumps. Right? And burnt coal by the roads. And there were so many eyesores. Right? Factory workers lived in slums, small huts, at least without infrastructure facilities. They didn't have at least basic infrastructure facilities. Women were uneducated and unemployed. Only men were employed. All the people were alike in jobs, very rarely different. They were factory laborers. These factory laborers, fathers, had to work from dawn to dusk in those industrial factories, fumbling with iron machinery. Their lifestyle were driven to misery. Every family had so many children. One reason, family planning was not introduced then. Right? 10, 12 children were there in every house. Right? Therefore, many parents sold their boys to companies, if not factories, as chimney sweepers. Every factory had tall chimneys to pass the smoke to sky. Those chimneys were narrow and tall. They often got blocked with soot, black carbon, and they had to be removed very often. Grown-ups could not climb up and clean the soot. Therefore, little children were employed as chimney sweepers. Right? Sometimes they were naked. Right? They were poorly fed, poorly clad. They were beaten. Right? Little children, boys, otherwise lived with the love and affection and protection of parents, had to be the chimney sweepers of factories. They had to work at night because during the daytime factories were functioning. Night they had to climb up and clean. They were retained in dark rooms called coffins. Right? Many boys were full of black carbon. They got many respiratory diseases. Right? Breathing black carbon. And many died. Sometimes when cleaning chimneys, right, they were clogged inside the chimneys and died. Their when they died, they were crying. Their cry echoed throughout London town at night. Sometimes boys fell down and died. Sometimes dead boys' skeletons fell down after 2-3 weeks from those chimneys. That was a very common event of London town, but no one was legally punished because at that time in England, law didn't harbor poor people. Only rich people were harbored by existing law. Right? William Blake was an uneducated man. He was a sick man, hunchback. Right? His entire life was limited to London town. It said that he went out of London town one day only in his life. All the time he was there. So he wrote many poems to express his anger against that existing system. He raises his voice towards the political authority. It is the political authority who should be responsible for this. Even the church remained silent while people were suffering like this. At that time there had been more than 300 sects in Christian church. Sects mean different chapters like Protestant, Salvation Army, Christian, Roman Catholics, like that different. They practiced Bible in different ways. It said that some churches printed the tickets for heaven, right? Factory laborers who couldn't attain the services of churches could buy those tickets. Like that, there was a corruption in all sides in England that time. In this poem, The Chimney Sweeper, William Blake speaks of one of the contemporary tragic problems in England. This poem is under the title The Chimney Sweeper Innocence, right? Chimney Sweeper Innocence. There was other poem, Chimney Sweeper Experience. This was written in 1789, right? Now, narrator is a little boy who sleeps in these chimneys. Normally, parents selling boys to factories to clean chimneys was a common thing. Fathers were paid meager wages by factories. What father brought home was not sufficient to feed many mouths. Therefore, in order to support family's income, they sold their boys too. This one tragedy only. There were teenage prostitution, right, child conscription, like that, so many tragedies. This boy says, now let's listen to the poem. In a previous video also I said, learn by heart poems, that's better. Right, only 24 or like that, 2-3 long poems are there. For example, that Rape of the Lock Canto 5 you can't mug up, but if you can, that's also better. You have 2 years, When my mother died, I was very young. Now this narrator also little boy. When my mother died, I was very young. And my father sold me while yet my tongue could scarcely cry, weep, 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 weep. When I was still an infant, my father sold me to a factory as a chimney sweeper. Now you know who chimney sweeper is. So, your chimneys I sweep, in soot I sleep. I said they were poorly fed, they were malnutritioned, no healthy, insanitary suits they had to sleep in that place called coffin. There's a little Tom Das who cried when his head that curled like a lamb's black. Another boy in his group, a chimney sweeper, was covered with black suit. Right, it was like a lamb's back. Was shaved, so I said. Hush, Tom, never mind it. For when your head is bare, you know that the suit cannot spoil your white hair. Because of that, his hair was shaved, right, by the authorities. After that, the narrator being a kid, right, made his colleague positive, saying, Tom, never mind it, for when your head's bare, you know that the suit cannot spoil your white hair. Now suit cannot spoil your white hair because now you have no white hair. Right. They have to accept their fate as it comes to them. And so, he was quiet that very night. As Tom was sleeping, he had such a sight. Other days he saw Tom with white hair. That thousands of sweepers, not only himself, in London town there were thousands of sweepers. They didn't receive love, affection, protection of parents. They were neglected children, right? Sweepers, Dick, Joe, Ned, Jack, there were so many. He gives only 4 names. We were all of them locked up in coffins of black. All chimney sweepers, little boys, they were locked up in coffins. Those rooms were called coffins. And by came an angel who had a bright key. One day an angel came, that means one man who was sympathetic towards these boys came and opened their room called coffin. He had a bright key and he opened the coffins and set them all free. He set them all free. For what? Go to river and wash ourselves. Then down a green plain, leaping, laughing, they run and wash in a river and shine in the sun. Then we washed in the river and shine in the sun. Actually in this age, right, they should be with parents. This harsh system, money-minded system, right, inhumanistic system, inhuman system, let these boys suffer this way. Then naked and white, all their bags left behind. All boys were naked. They had only one cloth. It was also washed. But they were wearing their bags. Bags, they had a tool kit. Right? They had to climb up the chimneys and clean. Those brushes and the things are inside those bags hanging in the back. They rise upon clouds. Why? I said to you that those chimneys were very tall. That's why I say. They rise upon clouds and sport in the wind. Actually, they are sporting in the wind. They don't know what will happen to their life. They are at a constant risk, but there is nobody to vouchsafe them, no responsibilities. And the angel told Tom, if be a good boy, yet have God for his father and never want joy. Then if he live as a good boy, he would have God for his father and never want joy. Here the poems become satirical towards the religion, right? Christianity. That time I said there were so many chapters of Christianity. Christian church misled people. Now, if that boy stays as a good boy, God will have his father. That is a point through which, right, the poet satirizes and criticizes the contemporary Christian church. That time, the Bible was not translated into English. Bible was written originally in Jesus language. Only priests could read the Bible. Therefore, in order to go to heaven, go to God, they were obliged to go to church people. Church was also a place of taking money from general public. They misled people like this. Priest said, you are suffering in this life in this manner, right? Because that's the way God wants you to live. God wants you to suffer this way in this life. It is after death then you can go to God. People accepted, right? Through religion, whatever the religion, right? Foolish people can be misled. these factory workers, poor people, believed that what trees said. Trees led very comfortable lives, right? While general public was suffering that way. And so Tom awoke and we rose in the dark. Again at night Tom awoke, we rose in the dark and got with our bags, our brushes to work. Bags inside the brushes, I said. And they returned to their work, because I told you that factories were functioning in the daytime, therefore chimneys were hot, and at night, in midnight, these boys were sent. Some boys slept and died, right? Because these are small children. You have to imagine the situation of London that time. Very pathetic. Though the morning was cold, Tom was happy and warm. So if all their duty, they need to fear harm. Right. So we need to, they need not fear harm. They need not fear harm. Because their life is always harmful. Though they fear, they have no options. They were like prisoners. So you understand that, right? William Blake, in writing this poem, attacked the contemporary system for paving the way for these children to suffer this way. They have no parents' protection, love, kindness. Actually at home they can't stay because many children were there, no food, many children were starving. Starvation prevailed in London town that time. Due to factory workers were given meager wages. Right, they couldn't fight the system. System oppressed them. Right, now you may have understood something about this. In another video, I will explain other poems and other texts too. Right? So, wish you all the best.